everyone, I'm Nora, and today we're really happy to talk to Alice. She graduated from Michigan Ross in 2021, also with a double major in UI UX design. After that, she's working as a PM in Alibaba and now in APPLovin. And we're really happy to have her as our second guest for our second episode today. So I wonder to begin with, could you talk a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, obviously. And thank you for that introduction. You basically recaptured everything. And I think just one clarification is it's a dual degree instead of a double major. Just because people might be wondering if Ross has a UX major. Ross doesn't. You have to get it from SI or the School of Information. So that's just one thing. And yeah, I highly recommend both majors for everybody or both degrees. And then two is I'm actually not in AppLovin anymore. I worked for an AI plus web type of startup after AppLovin. And currently I'm just exploring different options. And I think I'm going to more of a traditional industry. So like maybe food, beverages, just very much consumer facing industries with a focus more on technology in marketing. So I think that's going to be something that I would be very interested in instead of just focusing solely on the back end of the tech in a tech corp. So yeah, just wanted to make that clear.
Okay, thanks for the clarification. That's really helpful. And maybe 2 years ago, I know you because you were elected as a 2+2 program for Harvard Business School of the Deferred MBA. So we just want to dive a little bit more into that experience. How is your studying experience in Ross makes you like made that decision later to apply for the MBA program, and how the application process is like?
Yeah, of course. A very good question. So I think the thing about Ross is I realized that a lot of things that I learned in Ross, whether that be strategy, whether it be technology and operations or anything, marketing, human resources, I think those things can't be applied upon my graduation. Like I realized that after several internships, like I wouldn't be doing any of the high level stuff. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna be deep into business because I ain't got no other skill. Which is the main reason. But I'm like knee deep into business field. So if I'm going to continue on this path, then MBA is almost a for sure thing that I'm going to be doing in the future. And then I came across Harvard's 2+2 program because I think they sent out emails to all of us about a presentation that they were doing on campus. Initially on campus, but eventually moved to online because of COVID. But I recognized, okay, that was an opportunity that I could probably bridge because I'm going to be doing an MBA anyways. So there's no harm in trying it and just applying it now. And if I failed, then whatever, I'll just apply 2 years down the road. It's basically a free try opportunity for me. So yeah.
It's like the similar process as me for now. I'm also the senior, so I was considering applying for the 2+ per MBA program. I know it's like highly competitive, but it's just a try to give yourself an extra option. It doesn't, well, it matters, but it doesn't hurt to apply. So
Exactly.
I really appreciate that you did that, and that actually encouraged me a lot to explore that area. So the next question is, I wonder what kind of difficulties you met when you were applying, and how did you overcome it? What kind of resources that you found are really helpful when you apply for that?
Right. So the application process requires a score, either GRE or GMAT, and then recommendation letters, obviously filling out the application portal, which includes the main essay. So those things, I think the score and the essay were both pretty difficult for me. The recommendation letter, maybe a little bit with it, dealing with the people and kind of not being able to rush the professors or your managers, but being able to get it on time. That's a different difficulty. But just for myself, I think the score and the essay were pretty difficult. And for anyone who is considering like 2+2 program and nothing else, so no other masters, I would recommend GMAT. But if you are considering 2+2, but at the same time some other master's program, which is where I was, I would recommend GRE because it's a much more broadly accepted standard test. But for me, if anyone has difficulty preparing for the tests, I totally get it. And also because of senioritis, because the classes are still going on, you basically have all your schedules, and now you're just adding another thing, which is test prep. For me, the best way to deal with that is just to sign up for a test. Like I'm not gonna calculate like how many months I need before I'm ready. I'm just gonna sign up for one, and then I'll have to be ready no matter what. And so
Mhm.
that's basically, you know, like everything works under a deadline. So you have to give yourself a deadline. And that's what worked for me. I still got a really,
Mm,
really low score because I procrastinate, or in better terms, I prioritize other things before this. So yeah, so what I did is I took it twice and it wasn't good, but I still had to move forward with the application because I knew I didn't have much more time. So for anyone who isn't very satisfied with their score but is on a time limit or time crunch, just go with it. Your score isn't going to determine everything. Like my score was really low. I don't even want to say it because it's so low. It kind of hurts my self esteem, but but it was very low. And so, but I went forward with it anyway. And I think that comes to the main essay part. It's probably a big reason why I got accepted. And I think it's because I really had a very, very major difficulty during that time that I overcame. And I really went through a soul searching process. I did this on myself, and it was very, very difficult because nobody was guiding me or anything. And but the good thing is I was reading a lot. I was reading a lot of novels. So I kind of wrote my story as like the novels that I was reading. So that helped a lot. So I think the soul searching process, you have to ask yourself really difficult questions. Like you can't stay on the surface level. You can't be like, oh, why am I studying business? Well, it's because I like business and maybe I want to be an entrepreneur one day. No, like that's not gonna get you into Harvard. It has to go down deep into like who you are as a person, your characteristics, your personalities. What have you always demonstrated throughout your life that is unwavering to you? And what difficulties have you overcome? I think Harvard really looks into that, and the just the persistence of which you embody when you encounter different difficulties and challenges.
mm,
For me, that was one of the major reasons that I got accepted. And that was also one of the most difficult things. I also had some friends read over my essay. Guys, take advantage of the Sweetland Center of Writing. My friend worked there. So I actually had my friend in Sweetland polish my essay. So,
wow.
yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely helpful. And all those advice suggestions that you shared are super like practical, which we barely know if we just like go on the website and search for advice. So really appreciate that.
You have to be on the lookout for good coaches in Sweden. Okay, like not everybody knows how MBA application process is, and I had to like talk to my friend about it. But because she was my friend, like that process was a lot more easier. So just make sure that you guys talk about different criteria and stuff with them if you are to polish your essays with them.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah. Um, maybe I should have asked this question earlier, but uh, just wanted you to clarify what is a 2+2 MBA program and how is that different from the regular MBA program and other master programs that most of the students are applying.
Of course. Yeah, that's a very good question. So the program is called Deferred MBA program and was started by Harvard's 2+2 program. Every school calls it differently. For example, Yale is Silver Scholar, and then Kellogg is something Scholar. Everybody has a different term for it, but it basically means you get accepted by the MBA program upon your senior graduation, basically 2 months after that, and then you have to defer 2 to 4 or 5 years. This also depends on the school. Some people allow for up to 4 years, some people allow up to 5 years. And then then you matriculate into the MBA program. So what you do between those 2 and 5 years is not the school's concern. But obviously you have to make the most out of it. But you basically have the guarantee of a MBA program offer. And one thing that I just wanted to point out here is that Yale does it very differently from all the other programs. So basically all M7 or Magic 7 for MBA, Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, Columbia, Kellogg, MIT Sloan, and CBS. They all offer this program. And then there's Yale and CMU, and maybe some other programs in S16 that I don't really pay attention to also offer this program. But Yale does it differently in the terms that you actually go to MBA right after your undergraduate studies for 1 year, and then you work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a 2 or 5 years of internship per se, and then you come back to the school for the final year. Not recommended.
Mm.
I'm sorry, Yale, but not recommended for anybody because when you go
Yeah.
to Yale info session, they're going to tell you that, oh, like companies understand this and they understand that it's a really rigorous process to get into the program. So they acknowledge candidates' proficiency and stuff like that. But I've asked several people from Yale, and it's not the case. It's really weird.
Yeah.
You've got 1 year of MBA to finish, and it's just hanging there, and you're kind of a student, but not really. So don't recommend Yale program to anyone for the deferred MBA. You'd rather just go to the MBA straight away. But every other school,
Mm-hmm.
nothing different from MBA. The only thing different is when you get that acceptance letter.
Yeah, I guess that totally makes sense, and I kind of agree with you. Like it doesn't make sense to get 1 year MBA experience, but it also doesn't make sense to just get a 1 year of full time working experience
Yeah,
either.
yeah.
So like either way, it doesn't really make sense. But maybe that works for some
Some
people.
people, yeah,
Uh,
it does.
yeah, I think coming back to your personal experience, you came back to China after you graduated from Ross, from Michigan in general, and then you worked in Alibaba and AppLovin and also the AI plus Web3 companies that you're working for. So, what is your plan before you started doing all of this? I guess in just those 2 years of the deferred program, what's your original plan and how is that changed?
Yeah. So my original plan was to stay in Alibaba for 3 years. Did not happen. um, my actually that wasn't my original plan, but that was the plan that I told Harvard. So maybe not broadcast this, but anyways, I'll just say that was my original plan. Okay, my original plan was to stay in Alibaba for the entire deferment period. But it didn't
Mm,
happen because I joined a data platform team that was more on the back end of Alibaba. And it was a very weird team because Alibaba has this thing called the central control like team where basically what we do, it's like a data aggregation platform, and supposedly it should reduce reproduction of the same work or repetition of the same technology being produced. So we aggregate data from all different departments, and we're supposed to be the ones who process the data, who come up with visualizations and insights, and who deliver those insights back to different departments. The idea behind that is most people who use data analysis and data visualization, stuff like that, use it for the same purpose and undergo kind of similar process of digging through the data and then presenting it. So if we were there, then all the departments can just give us the data, get the results done. That was what was, originally being foresighted when they actually put up the program. But they noticed that different departments have such niche requests, have such niche requirements for their data visualizations that it didn't work out like that at all. Like we were basically recreating the wheel again and again for each department. And then eventually
mm,
Alibaba came up with this policy where every single department has to be responsible for its own cost and profit or revenue. And we don't have revenue. Like we serve internal teams, right? So what they did then is that they required every single department to pay us to use our service. they were already not satisfied with the speed at which we give them the insights because they have niche requests that need tailored engineering and designing. And so they were like, okay, well, if that's the case, cost benefit analysis, we're just going to do it ourselves. So it ended up being that the entire idea of having a data aggregation center and platform didn't really work out for the company. And I could obviously transfer to a different department within Alibaba, but I think the problems that I noticed within the company spread across different departments. And if I were just to switch a department, it wouldn't have solved any of my problems. So yeah, so I decided to switch company because the organization basically changes structure every other, like maybe every 3 months. And that change of the structure is pretty, it's not subtle at all. It's pretty big and major. So it really kind of conflicts with everything that you're trying to do. It really disturbs your mind as well. And I didn't like that about big corps. And I didn't go to ByteDance or like Baidu or something like that for the same reason, because I know it wasn't going to be an Alibaba specific problem. Those problems existed basically in all big corps. There's a lot of, I wouldn't say office politics, but it's kind of similar in the sense that you are having different intentions and everybody in different departments or teams have different goals, OKRs that they're trying to achieve. So if you want to get something done and it's not on their agenda, but you need their assistance and help, it's usually very, very, very difficult. And granted, that is a skill that every person probably should learn. But for me, I just wanted to see if that's the same case in other like smaller companies, because I might be working for smaller to medium sized companies anyways. So I just decided to try it out. And I came across AppLovin because they had a innovation center in Hangzhou, or not like center, but like they had an innovation team there. So what the team was doing is basically an entrepreneur project, but within the scope of AppLovin. So that really intrigued me because I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur myself. And I know it's really lame to say that because honestly, I think you should just start if you want to be an entrepreneur. Just do something. Like, that's my advice for everybody. But it's hard. It's easy to know it. It's hard to do it. So for me, I just thought, okay, let me switch to an entrepreneurship team within a big corp. That gives me the guarantee, but it gives me also the spirit at which smaller companies function. And I really liked that job. It was a really, I'm not going to talk too much about the product because I don't know how much I can talk about. So I'm just going to not talk at all. But the answer to my previous question was that it didn't involve any politics at all. Everybody was working for the same goal. Everybody was working for the same drive. And there was no like, oh, I need you to do something. And I will beg you, I will buy you, I will buy you dinner, I'll buy you like milk tea, like I will buy you this and that. Like there was nothing like that. Like if you need something to be done and it's for the good of the company or for the good of the team, then the thing gets done. So I really liked that culture and I really liked my manager there. He's still, I think, my best manager so far. And then I had to switch job because of a location issue, not because anything related to the company or the team or the work that they were doing. But yeah, so that's my story up until AppLovin. I don't know if that was a lot and if you guys need to ask any questions.
Yeah, I think that's like super helpful because a lot of students they're very struggling with going to a bigger firm or a smaller team after graduate. So I feel like your story is very inspiring for them. And you mentioned that like you always want to be an entrepreneur, and definitely Nora, she founded our Michigan Venture Club, and I'm also joined it. So we are very interested like to learn more about your entrepreneur related activities during your college during the time you're in Michigan.
Of course. And before I go into that question, or one thing that I wanted to just make sure that everybody knows is I actually recommend all people who are graduating go to a big company. You can switch later, but having that name on your resume will get you a lot of doors open down the road versus working for a smaller company, doing great things, loving the culture. I mean, if you want to
Yeah.
stay there forever, that's cool. But if you find out
Mhm.
that's not where you want to stay forever, then then it's harder to switch. So I would recommend everybody to get that name on your resume for at least a year or
Yeah,
so. And
so
like
true.
right now, I think, yeah, even when I introduce myself to other people, I still say like I used to work for Alibaba, and I think it rings a bell for them somehow. I don't like it, but it's how the society functions. So that's what I
Mhm.
recommend to everybody. Yeah. I mean, especially if you're coming back to China. I don't know much about the United States work status anymore. I don't know if people hear Google and Facebook and they go, oh, or they don't care at all. Like, I'm not
I
so sure
guess
about
yes.
the yeah, I'm not sure about the U.S. cultures. I'm just speaking solely from a Chinese perspective or from China. But yeah, that's the advice that I would give. And then coming back to you guys' question about entrepreneur endeavors during college, honestly, I would say I would rate myself like 50 out of 100 in that because, well, I like started two clubs. One failed, one succeeded, but I didn't start any venture per se. I know Nora is doing a lot more outside of the club. Like you're having like your own venture in addition to the club, right, or something, or like having some actual ventures inside of the club that also counts. But for me, I started a storyteller club, and that was just purely out of interest. It was kind of similar to this actually, but instead we were interviewing students on campus, and it was called Storyteller. And so we would introduce. I was I was mainly interested in other students' perspectives outside of Ross. So I interviewed people from the music school. I interviewed Reggie. I don't know if he's still famous or not. He used to be the campus dog, but I think he died. But yeah, he was very famous. And then yeah, mainly people that are completely outside of my own reach. I
Mm.
did that a little bit, and then I was like, well, I think I was a freshman. So I didn't pursue or insist upon it because I wanted to do consulting. I thought I wanted to do consulting, and so I thought that I needed to stay in consulting clubs and such and not have my time wasted per se on these endeavors. Looking back, that's probably one of my biggest regrets in college. Like, if you have a passion and if you have an interest, you have to pursue it relentlessly because I think college is actually the time to make mistakes. And granted, when you're in college, you don't think that. When I was in college, I think I have no time to make mistakes. I have to make every single step right. But then when I went into the society, I realized it's because that I didn't make a lot of mistakes in college that now I have to take the chance in society after graduation. And the chances are too risky now. And the cost of it is so much higher than that of college. So for you guys who are kind of deciding between interests versus career in terms of your extracurricular activities, I would say go with interests a lot. Don't give it up. But obviously you have to have something on the back of your hand as well. But don't give this up. Like just don't. This is wrong. Giving this up is definitely wrong. So for me, I so that club failed because I just decided to not care for it, not grow it, not do anything about it. And then I started a consulting club with my friends on campus. Actually, I don't know if it still exists. It's called ACG, Alliance Consulting Group. It might not
Yes.
exist anymore. I'm not
I
sure.
think it's still
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
but I'm not so involved in the consulting stuff. So, but
Yeah,
I guess
yeah,
yeah, it's still
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. But anyways, that wasn't mainly me. I was a founding member. But I guess what I want to say is I don't consider any of those two as an entrepreneurial activity, though I think starting something is important in college. But for people who do want to be an entrepreneur of some sort and who do want to go into that space, I would say take advantage of there's so many different competitions. Like I don't even remember the names anymore, but you guys can probably put this later, add it in your podcast. Like for example, like Ross has Entrepreneurship Center, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember the name. And Umich also has Entrepreneurship Center, and they have Zellery. Yeah, Zellery. They
Mm.
have
Yeah.
yeah, they have Zellery fellowships. They have competitions. They have grants, and I think just do something. Like just go write a proposal, go write a plan, go write a business plan. Like if it fails the competition, then fine. Like your plan is probably not working in their minds, but figure something out if you really want to do something. Like I just want to say start something. Like start something. Don't go with the flow because I went with the flow, and I don't think it benefited me anything. Like, try to establish your own metric of success for life as early as possible, and that's going to be hard as a college student because we haven't seen anything in the real life, so you don't really know. And honestly, college is a very safe place because you're always in academics, you're always learning, so it's hard to see like what possibly could be there in terms of your metric of success for life. But try to do something. It's definitely a thing that I would recommend for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it doesn't matter if the thing you started will succeed or fail. The more important thing is about the experience and trying to push yourself out of the comfort zone and challenge yourself to do, something you have never done before. And kind of want to echo back on the storytelling club that you started. I really wish that still existed because I was really interested in storytelling. And like to be honest, a while ago I was really bad at public speaking, storytelling, all the speeches I give in front of the people. And then I started to like attend several workshops about public speaking. And I know there's a story lab in Ross that invited
Yes.
a lot of MBA students to come back to tell their stories growing up or their stories
Yes.
when they're in Ross. So that one was like one of the podcasts I always follow. I think that you are obviously a great storyteller, and I think the experience that you had back in your freshman year, even this a long time ago, will still help you like kind of set the fundamental things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, really impressive, like about how you talk about your interest and your passion. Because we're right now are senior, and we have been like in different industry, like investment banking or funds of fund for like a lot of internship. But in senior, actually, Nora and me both want to do something that we really want to do. So we started
Mhm.
this podcast, and we each have some like partnership related things. So I can feel you a lot. But I'm curious, like you say you want to do consulting at first, but finally you go to Alibaba and maybe do product manager. Like how do you like deal with that transition and how you
Right,
determine that goal?
right. So one thing is I had some consulting internships, and I felt at that stage that I wanted to do something more hands-on and something more practical instead of just giving advice. And so I also had UI UX degree, right? And
Mhm.
from the School of Information is where I learned about the role of product management, because they are like School of Information is a very tech oriented place. So basically everything's tech centered. They will give you some advice on. So I learned about this role, and I looked into it. I networked with a lot of people, and I realized that it's a role that combines business, tech, and UI UX, which are all three areas that I have some knowledge in. Like I also learned. So for me, I think that just seemed like a perfect choice. So actually, my junior year internship, because it was also during COVID and it has to be remote, so it wasn't easy to get an internship. So I actually didn't get paid at all during my junior year internship, and I think a lot of people would have freaked out if they were in my shoes in my junior year, because every single person in Ross knows that your junior internship is your senior return offer. And that was my mindset as well. And I was freaking out, but I was also trying to do something meaningful at the same time. So I basically had two internships during that summer. One is with a startup that wasn't even like a startup yet. It was like pre everything. Like the founder was from BCG Ventures. He's a pretty big guy for BCG Ventures, and so he wanted to do something on the side. He wrote my recommendation letters actually, and I think his recommendation letter helped because the startup that I worked for, or the project that I worked for him, actually got accepted into Harvard's innovation lab or something. So I think that might also have something to do with my acceptance. But yeah, I worked for him, and it was a very interesting experience that I'm not going to go deep into, but it was a startup experience that I'm not getting paid at all. I found him on Angel List, and he didn't respond to me on Angel List, so I DM'd him on LinkedIn. And then he was like, okay, let's have a call. And we had a call, and he was like, okay, come like do the internship. So that was one thing. And the other thing was Ross was actually very, very responsive during COVID. Like as soon as they realized that people can't get internships because of COVID, they actually put up the program that are usually only available during the fall and winter semester. And it was called, I don't remember, but it's basically this program where you go and consult for some companies.
Mhm.
And I worked with two MBA, like Ross MBA fellows. It was me, another BBA, and two other MBA fellows on
Mm.
that project. So Ross was very quick to respond in that situation, and that project went really well. So I think if you aren't getting a big corp internship your junior year, it's not the end of the life. Like, I managed it. I think I made it work for me. And if you're in the same situation, you will make it work for you. So I think recruit as hard as possible for a big corp job in your junior year summer internship. But don't be too discouraged. Don't be too dismayed if you didn't get that internship. So yeah, I because of that startup experience, I was able to transition pretty smoothly into PM.
Yeah, that was great. And I'm glad that you found something out even in the COVID period, which was definitely hard for everyone. And I was kind of desperate during that time and just like staying at home all day and doing nothing.
Yeah.
So you graduated in Ross in 21 and you have been working for almost more than 2 years. So what's your plan like moving forward? When
Mhm.
are you going to start your MBA program, or are you going to defer for like 1 more or 2 more years? And I guess this is even more in the future once you started your program. What do you expect to learn from Harvard? Kind of leverage all the things that you learned in Ross and also in the working experience. What do you want to learn the most in Harvard?
Of course. So for me, I plan to explore different options before I matriculate, and I'm pretty determined that I'm going to matriculate in the fall of next year. So fall of 2024 is when I'm
Mm.
going to matriculate. And so I basically have 1 year left. And during this year, my goal is to have a job that is completely different from what I have done, but is something that I'm super interested in. Probably is somewhat connected to my previous experiences, but not in the way that you transitioned from like Alibaba to AppLovin, right? Like as a product manager, like my role might change, the industry might change, the job function might change completely. And that's my goal, is to explore another function. And then before I like I'm trying to start things on the side as well. Like I started the MBA consulting kind of agency or like studio with my friend who also got accepted to HBS, and that's basically you can call it a side hustle. And
Mm.
then maybe I'm going to start some other side hustles, such as kind of posting videos on like Red or mainly Red, I think, and becoming kind of like somewhat of an influencer, but not really, because I don't want to be like a big influencer or anything. And I practically don't have the skills to do that. But I think my experiences, my knowledge that I have so far, granted, it's only been like 24 years, but I think I can still give some really good advice to people who were in my shoes like 2 or 3 years prior to the current age, which is 24. So I just want to help as many people as I can before I go into Harvard. And I think when I do that, opportunities will come to me. So
Mm.
if I am offering something value to other people, and if I'm helping enough people, then maybe some people will say, okay, why don't you charge A for B, right? Why don't you charge certain money for this certain service that you're offering? Because I would totally be willing to pay for that. So I think as soon as that opportunity comes, as I gather more information around what I'm capable of and what the market needs, and do more research, do more actions, I might start a second side hustle, and that's my plan. If it gets big enough and I don't want to do like, working for others anymore, then I might just focus on my entrepreneurial endeavors right before Harvard for a little bit of time.
Mm.
But also planning to travel as much as I can before I matriculate. So it's a lot of plan packed in a year. And so we'll see how it goes. Come back to me maybe the year I matriculate in Harvard and ask me what
Um,
happened during this 1 year. Because I
yeah,
really don't
I'm
know.
sure you
Um,
had a fantastic year.
yeah, yeah. And then about what I want to learn in Harvard, I think it's less about the actual material. Like it's less about how accounting works, how finance works, how operations work. I think it's more about what the case method is. Like because I love the case method. It's one of the reasons why I would not go to any other school. I want to know, like, I want to feel the debate and I want to feel the critical thinking just flowing in the room. I want to feel the pros and the cons of an argument. I want to feel the emergency of a company crisis, and I want to feel how people react to that. I think that critical thinking, that ability to react when such case does emerge is probably one of the biggest things that I want to learn in Harvard. And I want to obviously see how professors push students to think harder, deeper, more, and so on. And I think the second thing is definitely connections. And I'm not talking about connections with MBA students. Obviously, we're going to get connections with MBA students because that's probably what HBS wants us to do. But I'm also talking about connections with other PhD fellows, like in all the areas of research, because they're top-notch researchers, they're top-notch scientists. That I would not miss a chance to be friends with them and to learn about what they're doing and to stay ahead in the trends. And also, there's MIT right next to Harvard, right? So I might visit MIT sometime, So like I think it's really about connections, but it's not about connections within HBS. It's about connections. Maybe if within HBS, I'm really looking at professors, and obviously I want to network with all my MBA fellows, but I think that's basically a given for every single person who wants to go to MBA program. That's why I don't elaborate on it. The mindset or the perspective that I want to bring to the table is network with all the other people in different fields and maybe in different schools and such. So that's the second thing that I want to do. And then the third thing is I'm not gonna miss another chance of entrepreneurship, like right at your fingertips, like with like the resources, the mentors, even classmates that are passionate of starting something. Like I might have a shit idea that just means nothing to nobody, and that might be true, but I'm still gonna pursue it. Like no matter what idea I'm gonna have, I'm just gonna go with it and see what happens. So that's definitely something that I will be doing. And please like just criticize me to the core if I don't do that. If I like stick to the MBA plan of recruiting and if I stick to the MBA way of like, oh, you have to do consulting IB. It's very similar to Ross from what I've heard when I network with other people. The traditional route. There is a traditional route. So if I stick to that route, I want you guys to keep me accountable on this because I don't want to go back to that path. I want to start something. So that's the third thing that I want to do.
I literally took it down, and I'll come back and check with you. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, that's
I
good.
believe
Please do.
you really successful. And
Yearly check-ins, 4 hours.
yeah, I took it down. But yeah, sounds really exciting and fulfilling applying for the next year. Also, when you start MBA, I really wish you like best of luck for all the things that you want to achieve. And I would say I really share the same values that you just mentioned. So a lot of times, instead of trying really hard to search for opportunities, you actually, if you want to help people more and offer other people values, the opportunities might just come to you naturally. So that's like I want to pursue in the long term too. And I'm glad that you mentioned the MBA consulting agency that you recently started. And in the summer, I participated in one of the sessions that you hosted. There's like several alum from HBS, Wharton, Columbia, and I really learned a lot during that session. So I want like, could you talk a little bit more about this? I guess consulting agency and how could the students who are interested in applying for the MBA program can work with you?
Of course, yeah. So my friend and I started this in 2022 August. That's the official start date. But prior to that, during the year that I got accepted, I had people reach out to me and say, "Hey, can you look at my application? I'm applying to Harvard." And I said, "Okay." So I actually got one of the people that I looked the application for into Harvard the second year. So that's when I realized, okay, maybe like I've got something here. And she was in the same shoes, and we decided that okay, if we are able to help people and if we want to keep this moving forward, then why don't we make this official? So that's why we started it, and we're basically the first agency to really not agency studio to really focus on deferred MBA because I think that's a very niche program where a lot of people actually aren't aware that it exists it exists. So for us, one of our goals is to promote this program and to have more people be aware of it, to have more people take advantage and leverage that opportunity. And obviously, this makes it more competitive inevitably, but so that comes to our second goal is for every single person that comes to us with a deferred MBA request, we will try and give them the best fit for school selections, as well as dig deep into their stories. Like the way I was phrasing it earlier is the soul searching journey, and digging really deep into what you're passionate about, your past, your history, and your future, your present, and how that connects. I think that's one of the edges that we have is we go really in depth into the story. We care about how you write them, but we probably care less about how you write them than what is being written. And then the third thing is, I think for us, we have recruited mentors from all the top 7 schools of deferred MBA programs. And the founder that I'm working with, my co-founder, has also established a really mature network for Chinese deferred MBA circle. And that's what we want to be pushing forward, is this platform, this connection, this opportunity. It's kind of similar to what you guys are doing in the sense that we're trying to build a way for people in this group to connect with each other and to help people who want to be a part of this group. So I think those are the 3 major things that we want to achieve with the studio. And right now I'm moving into the MBA sphere of this because naturally the process is very similar. The way that the school selects applicants can be pretty similar, even though there are minute differences that we are currently aware of. So where I am moving into the MBA program itself, but my co-founder is still very much focused on the deferred MBA part of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I want to consult with you about it. Deferred MBA.
Me too.
Thank you. Yeah, we do realize that there are a lot of agencies that are not doing their jobs. Like a lot of people who come to us actually had an agency or institute signed prior to coming to us, and then they come to us because they don't think they're doing a good job, and then they stick with us. So I think what we want to do is offer the best service at the best price, because we're not doing this to suddenly be rich or anything. We started this with a heart to help other people, and so that's the heart that we're gonna stick to. And that's why I feel like our service is impenetrable, because we're not like the other agencies. And obviously I've been thinking about ways to eliminate them in the market, but that's wrong. So I'm not gonna do that. But I do want people to really have their eyes wide open when they're selecting like consulting services and packages.
Yeah, I totally appreciate that you guys offer more help for students like who are interested in this program. And I guess why we are here tonight is to introduce this 2+2 deferred MBA program to more students who might not have, be aware of it before. Because like a lot of people I talk to, especially from my peer in the senior year, they're actually not familiar with what is a 2+2 deferred MBA program, and most of them are considering, either directly go to work or they will apply for a master's. So obviously you're doing a lot of help for them to actually get into that program. Is a win-win.
Yeah, I do think it's a win-win. That's a very good generalization or conclusion of it.
Thanks. I guess our last question is not really like a formal question anymore, so we're just gonna do a rapid fire where we'll ask you like 3 questions related to your experience. This is what we do in each episode, trying to like refresh some of your memories when you're seeing another. Do you want to get started?
Yeah, so what's your favorite place in Michigan? Like Umich?
I have so many, but I'll give you guys 2 because I love coffee and I can't live without it. So the 2 I'm gonna give you guys is coffee place. So one is, I don't know if it still exists, the Zingerman at Ross or Blau. It's a great place for me because I don't like the Starbucks anymore, and I got tired of the Winter Garden after a period of time. So the Blau Cafe is the place where I went to study before COVID happened, obviously. And then my second favorite place, or is a little bit further, is why it's my second favorite place. But if I'm like on the central campus, like in Angel Hall studying or something, that would be my favorite place, which is the Union Cafe. So it's in the Union, right? There's a cafe.
Yeah,
You guys are
exactly.
lucky. You guys are lucky because my freshman year it was the old Union, so it doesn't have cafe. And then my second year it got renovated, so there was no Union. And then my third year I got to enjoy that cafe for like twice before COVID. So yeah,
That's
like you
tough.
guys are so lucky to like be able to enjoy that all the time. But yeah, like even though it was only 2 times, like the vibe there was very much for me. So I really liked that place.
Yeah, totally agree. All the couches, all like chairs, the coffee table,
Yeah.
super nice. And
Yeah.
now I guess it's packed by different students all day, so definitely a
I bet.
popular area.
Mhm.
Second question is, what's your favorite book when you were in
Yeah.
college?
So I recommend this book to every single person because I think it literally changed my life. It's called How Will You Measure Your Life? And it's written by Harvard HBS professor Clayton Christensen. He was also the innovator. He was also the one who coined the innovator's dilemma, and he came up with a lot of different things like the different curves. Wow, I'm ashamed that I don't remember it anymore, the names of the curves. But I think disruptive technology, like he came up with how small companies can disrupt big companies. So he is a very, very well known professor, and all his other books are about business owning. This is the book that he wrote about life, but he also gave a lot of business cases in it. But it's the book that really helped me change my perspective on life. And yeah, it's you guys have to read it. I don't like reading books, frankly, but I had to like basically digest that in like maybe one day because I just couldn't stop reading it once I picked it up. So that's how great
Yeah,
it is.
definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely look into it, and we'll probably feature the book like on your episode name.
Please. Please, please, please. He would be another reason for me to go to HBS, but he passed away during COVID. Not because of COVID, but during COVID. So it was very, very sad. But yeah, but there is a professor, a strat professor in Ross that was his student.
Wow.
I forgot his, but 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 he's Asian. So
Mm.
a strat professor who's Asian, strat 390 professor who's Asian. So you guys should know who that is. Like there probably aren't a lot of professors that ring a bell, right? I forgot his last name, but yeah. I'll try to find it out and send it to you guys. But I mean, my friend took his strat class and loved it, loved it, loved it, absolutely loved it.
Okay.
I didn't have the chance to take his class, but
Hmm.
like I've heard so many good things about him.
Cool. Last question is, what's your favorite podcast?
Okay, yeah. So my favorite podcast, you actually have to pay for it. Like it's a subscribed channel, and it's called Stratechery. And it's by Ben Thompson. So that subscription comes with an email newsletter, as well
Mhm.
as his podcast. As you can hear from the name, is the combination of strategy combined with technology. So that's why it's called Stratechery.
Mhm.
And it's great in the sense that he came up with a lot of theories as well that explains the different revenue models, the different market dimensions of the tech industry. And basically every single person in the tech industry knows or have heard of him, and the biggest CEOs like comes to interview with him, and so you will get the greatest insights. And he does not talk bullshit at all. There's no one single sentence that is wasted in his podcast or his newsletter. It actually takes a lot of mental capability to understand his newsletter. So
Mhm.
I am very guilty of not finishing his newsletters most of the time. But still, when I do, when I have the time, when I can settle down, and when I have the peace of mind to finish, I am in awe at this person's intellect. So highly recommend for every single person.
That's amazing to
Yeah,
hear.
that's amazing.
Mm,
Yeah, I guess that's all our questions for tonight.
of
Really nice,
course.
really honored to have you here and talk to you, and thanks for sharing all of those experiences and the advice that you have, especially for the MBA program, which was really helpful. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's an honor for me as well. And I'm so glad that you guys are doing this. And I'm so happy to see this platform being formed as the second guest. I will follow you guys and make sure you guys are
Thanks.
doing what you intended to do. Just kidding. But yeah, I'm so happy and so glad that you guys are doing this. And I'm extremely honored to be a part of this. And you guys make me feel like I've made it, even though I have not. So that's also something, you know?
No, you're the special guest for us forever. Well,
Thank
definitely we want
you.
to invite you back again for sure. Yes,
Absolutely.
the best wishes for your next coming year and also the coming experience in HBS. And looking forward to see you in person in the States.
I know, I know. I look forward to seeing you guys in person. I want to come back to Umich campus so much, and for
You
every
should.
single person like who's there, like enjoy your times there because you really, really do miss Ann Arbor. You miss the campus, like as soon as you leave it. Like I miss the campus so much. I had so many complaints about it when I was there, but as soon as I left, I was like, wow, no complaints. Amazing, great. Cannot have, enough words to praise it. So enjoy your times there. It's gonna be the best times of your years, I think.
Yeah, we will.
So
Thank you
thank
so
you,
much.
Alice.
Awesome. Bye. Have a good night.